Hello and welcome. I'm Carolyn, your host. Welcome to this week's Weekly Mini, your bite-sized workshop on the hottest acro topics. You can reference all of our previous weekly minis and more amazing content on our Acrobatic Arts channel on YouTube. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments and we'll do our best to answer those for you at the end. If you know someone who should hear about today's topic, be a friend and click the share button on this post right now and let them know we're here. Today, we're thrilled to bring you Mark Biondi of Luv Michael. Mark is an accomplished executive with over 15 years of operations and marketing experience. His career began as a professional musician. He's toured, recorded, and performed with countless notable artists, including a platinum record for work with Grammy Award winner John Legend. He's also earned a gold record for Def Jam artist Nas. He began working with the School of Rock in 2005 and held numerous positions. During that time, the School of Rock grew from 5 to over 150 locations in 8 countries. He spent a large part of his time there increasing brand awareness and advocacy. In 2015, he would move on to work with a Chicago-based gourmet popcorn company, leading a complete rebrand, including a realignment to focus on giving to charities. In 2022, he started the Biondi Group to provide consulting services to mission-driven organizations. He is the vice chair of the National Dance Foundation. Mark has spent the past 2 years advocating for autism acceptance and helping New York-based not-for-profit Luv Michael and U.S. Autism Homes expand their mission. And with that, it brings us to where we are now. Welcome, Mark.
Hey, Carolyn, how are you?
I am thrilled. I'm a little starstruck. Sorry about the name flip up in the beginning. I just, you come highly recommended, and I know you've got a great story to tell. So we're just thrilled to have you here.
Thrilled to be here. Thanks for having me.
So tell us, okay, so platinum and gold records playing with John Legend, Nas, Tom Morello, Eric Hutchinson, Wayne Kramer, name dropping, just to name a few, to the School of Rock, to Popcorn, to the Biondi Group, providing consulting services to mission-driven organizations. It sounds as though you've taken all of the good of your experiences over the years and you're using those superpowers for good. Is that how you would define it? I mean, did you see this journey for yourself at all?
Absolutely not. No, I started as a drummer and just, truly loved music. And I loved the fact that, through sound, you could move people and you could create this sense of connection. And so I, was really blessed to work with some incredible artists who I think take connection to a whole nother level. Getting to work with some of those folks that you mentioned, they're incredibly special in their ability to connect. And I think it's because it comes from a very pure and honest place. But as I was touring, I've been, married. My wife and I live just outside of Chicago. And I've been married for 25 years. So once we had our children, I didn't want to be on the road anymore. And so it was getting more and more challenging. I wanted to see my kids grow up and have that opportunity. So I was very fortunate to connect with the School of Rock and sort of marry this, love of music and then teaching kids and business and running a business. So I started as a franchisee with School of Rock. It's a franchise organization that teaches kids music through performance. So it's a really unique approach. And much like many of the dance studios out there, the idea of experiential learning and having to perform and the beautiful sound of applause to someone to inspire them and connection. So it was really a beautiful opportunity for me to marry those things together. And I loved School of Rock. And I found myself, quickly, I had two of the most successful schools in the chain, and they asked me to come on board and help them scale. And I moved out here to the western suburbs of Chicago to do that, and learned a ton. Found myself in all of a sudden from the stage to running a business to then being in a boardroom. Working with private equity, and I didn't love it. I didn't love that side of things. And they had asked if I would move out to LA. They moved me to Chicago and then said, "Hey, would you move to LA?" And I was like, I don't think I'm going to make that move again. And I, connected to a local company here, and they were doing some work in the fundraising space. And so I worked with them and did a rebrand. And I started to connect with some charities. And I realized now, looking back, that all through my career, I was always trying to find some way in service. So at School of Rock, we would tour the kids. They would play, live shows. It was a very cool thing. But they would tour in support of a charity. And so we would either do tour, shows in support of the Ronald McDonald House, or an organization called Love, Hope, Strength, finding bone marrow donors. And there was something so beautiful about the give back to it all. And then with the popcorn organization I was with in 2015, they had a give back with, a philanthropic side of what they were doing. And I made a friend along the way, who's just really one of the most phenomenal people. Her name is Dr. Lisa Liberatori, and she founded Luv Michael in honor of her son. And Michael's on the autism spectrum. And there was, when you think about autism, a lot of times we'll think about autistic children, and that's beautiful. But all of those children become adults, and it's really a whole other issue that's not being addressed right now. And Michael was kind of at the forefront of that. He's now just about to turn 25. So he's this group of young men and women who are coming into adulthood on the autism spectrum and facing some significant challenges. So Dr. Lisa, who's a friend of mine, founded this nonprofit organization, and I had, felt like I had reached a certain amount of success in my career, and I decided to start my own company. And this is totally true. The day I decided to do that, she called me out of the blue and said, "Hey, would you, consider, helping us out a little bit, because we're really kind of struggling." And I'm like, "Huh, it's interesting." So I had formed this company to help businesses find their purpose and to grow. And my relationship now with Dr. Lisa, we've really tried to help the adults, autistic individuals, so adults on the spectrum, in both work, because there's a 90% underemployment and unemployment right there. And then in independent living. So many of the parents are saying, "Hey, what's going to happen to my adult child when I'm not here anymore?" And so the two organizations that I spend a lot of time with working on are Luv Michael, which is a bakery in New York City, and it employs autistic adults. It trains and educates, and it creates a beautiful community. And then US Autism Homes, we have 3 houses out in Southampton, and we're helping families to figure out what life could be like, but most importantly, to build this friendship circle. So it's been a strange path, but I look back and realize that so much of it is based on finding something that evokes emotion and can drive people. It's about connection. And I realized, 15 years into my career, that I learned most of everything I needed to know about business, on the stage, which was kind of unexpected. So an unexpected trip, Karen, if that answers it.
Yeah, and I think really honestly, I mean, you did recap on that, but that whole connection piece is so strong. And I think many of our teachers watching, dancers watching, studio owners watching understand how much really was learned in the studio. I think for so many people, in the arts, in the studio, on the stage, prepares you for life in ways we could never imagine. And also that connection piece and paying it forward, I think is very powerful. And I do believe strongly that we artists do connect well with groups and mission-based organizations, and seeing a bigger vision for those organizations and helping to support them with the skills that we have garnered. And that through line, we stand where we are with everything behind us, and we bring that forward. And so Luv Michael is so fortunate to have you. You are an amazing human, but I will let you tell us more specifically about Luv Michael.
Absolutely. So I mentioned that my partner in this, Dr. Lisa Libertori, her son Michael was reaching sort of the graduation age, and for most folks on the spectrum or folks with special needs, they can attend high school in the United States to the age 22. It's like that in a few other countries, but then all of those state-funded education programs go away. And she happened to notice that when Mike was, towards the end of that, she said, "What's Mike going to do next?" And no one had an answer. And she realized, well, what would a career be like for him for work? And he happened to love to cook, and he's like really amazing at it. So she said, well, I'm going to get Mike some cooking lessons. And no one would take him. No one would train him. And she said, well, I got to figure this out. That's just kind of how she is. And she got introduced to a chef who was willing to come to their house and give Mike cooking lessons in their kitchen. And they came up with this recipe for granola. And it turned out that granola was a great platform to teach someone on the spectrum job skills. And so it's got no knives in the process, lots of different ingredients to measure and mix. And Mike happens to love to eat. So she's like, well, I can't have Mike just make the granola and eat it all. So he would start to give it away to family and friends. And he would always sign his name, Luv Michael. And that's, so she's like, this could help other folks. And that's kind of how it was born. It went from her kitchen to a shared kitchen space. And now we have a flagship bakery in Tribeca, in a really awesome neighborhood in Tribeca. And there we now work with about 28 individuals on the spectrum, and they're learning through experience, right? What better way to teach someone how to have a job than to give them one? But the reality is, it's a consumer product good. So they're making granola, and her original concept was, oh, well, maybe we'll make granola and we'll sell granola. And it seems like, oh, that sounds easy, but it's a very challenging thing. And eventually it didn't matter that the individuals who were making the product were on the spectrum. And they're incredibly talented and gifted at what they do. But once it sort of gets into selling a retail product, that's, people kind of dismiss that, and they just want the product faster and cheaper, and that's a struggle. So we started this program for really as a volunteer program. What we realized is we're educating this group, and you'll hear us refer to ourselves as granologists because we make granola. So we're educating this group and preparing them for the world of work. And the hopes are with Luv Michael, it becomes like a springboard. Perhaps they go off and they can get a job wherever that individual would desire based on the skills that they've honed at Luv Michael. But we stumbled upon a problem is, when that person on the spectrum might be placed in, say, a quote unquote neurotypical environment, it doesn't always work out for them because the people around them don't understand autism. And when you don't understand something, you seldom move towards it. You tend to move away from it. And that's what happens to this community is everyone's pulling away from them, and they really need people to come closer to the community. So we realized that as we're preparing this team for the world of work, we need people out there preparing the world for them. And that's where this volunteer program came, with teenagers who needed community service hours would come and work with us. We would educate them on how to be an ally and friend to this community. And based on that, they actually ran a little digital fundraising campaign. And because this all was happening around the pandemic, the need for a virtual community service project was really something that we didn't expect this, but it really connected. And we now have 28,000 volunteers in 40 countries. They reached about 750,000 people. And essentially what they're doing is they're educating their family and friends through text message about what they learned about the autism community, bringing people closer together, and hopefully encouraging and inspiring the world to come closer to this community. And that's made all the difference in Luv Michael, where we couldn't sell granola. We now have this army and team of volunteers out there who are helping to educate the world about how to be a better friend. The way that helps us is when someone makes a donation to Luv Michael, it sends a signal back to the bakery, and then our team handwrites them a thank you and we hand make them some granola, and we package that up with some information on how you can be a better ally to the community, and we ship that off to the person that donated. So that has, inspired, tens of thousands of people to learn about Luv Michael, learn about this community, and have an experience with it. And what's happened recently is we've been working with so many schools that someone asked, hey, could we do this as a fundraiser, which I had no intention of ever being in that world again. And I thought about it and I said, well, that's a really interesting thing. Most fundraisers that a dance studio might do tend to be, I'm going to sell some product, or I'm going to run a GoFundMe. And we said, what if we took that whole model and we actually used it to educate people, educate teams, have those teams become advocates, and we just give them 50% back of everything they raise. And we've worked with a couple teams now, and it's just like mind blowing what's happening. So your, traditional studio, dance studio team fundraiser is now this actual catalyst to education, to learning, to advocacy. And in it, you're meeting your financial goals and your fundraising goal. But on the other side, you're helping to educate the world to help this community that really needs it. So it's a community service fundraiser. So it's something very different, and I've never seen it done before. But we're really excited to work with more studios. And what brings me here, the way I kind of connected with Mandy and acrobatic arts, is because another very close friend is Kathy Graziano from National Dance Foundation, and she brought me on their board. And our missions are very aligned. She works with National Dance Foundation to promote kindness and inclusion in the community, the dance community. So we partnered with National Dance Foundation to bring this to dance studios, as many dance studios as possible, who would be willing to, it's all free, it's all online, it doesn't cost anything to do, but to take a meaningful step with your team fundraising that helps a community that very much needs help.
I mean, truly amazing, just to take a step back to what you were originally saying. I mean, opportunity came in this wave during the pandemic. Need met opportunity, and you were there to greet it with the opportunity to figure it out for online volunteers. And then just as it evolved in a beautiful way, it is a gorgeous way for people, organizations to fundraise and be a part of a greater mission, as we talked about connecting the dots. And so tell us more about how studios can get involved in this. It is powerful. It's been hugely successful from what we understand. So what's the next step for anybody who wants to get involved?
Yeah, so it's very simple to get involved. I shared a link with Acrobatic Arts to push through the chat. You can certainly click there and our team will reach out to you. It's a very, very simple process. There's no cost to the organization. Essentially, we just build a digital team. We would book a very short introduction to your studio. So we'd have you invite your studio to a Zoom call. And in about 10 minutes, we can educate them very quickly on how to be an ally to this community. We can set them up with a digital campaign, and those folks, those team members are encouraged to share a text message that talks about a 90% unemployment rate with this community. It talks about what's happening after 22, and it talks about some serious concerns about isolation and depression and anxiety that's in this community, and how we all just maybe need to take just that little moment to, when you see someone who's struggling, to maybe think a little bit differently about what that person's going through. So it really builds empathy, and they're doing that by sharing these messages with a link to their campaign page. Folks can click that link on the individual's page and make a donation to Luv Michael. That triggers us to send the thank you. That's the work that we get to do, which we're excited about. A handwritten thank you card, and then this card about becoming an ally to the community. We ship that direct. So as a fundraiser, you're going to keep 50% of what you raise. You're never going to touch a product. It doesn't cost anything to do. We view it as community service. We got the program recognized by the White House. So in the States, students are earning community service hours doing it and are qualifying for the President's Volunteer Service Award, which is pretty amazing. And I think, but most of all, is it sort of takes the concept of your options in fundraising, and it puts some meaning behind it that I haven't seen done before. So very simple to get involved. You can click that link. You can certainly visit us at luvmichael.com or .org and learn more. Yeah, we're really looking for as many partners as possible, because what you're helping us do is just, it's monumental for this community, and we're expanding. So the more studios we can connect with, the faster we can bring this opportunity to folks on the spectrum who need it.
Absolutely. So, as a mom with a dancer in a studio who is doing fundraising, this is just a shout out to all of those parents on, the Parents Association at your dance studio, to your studio owner if that doesn't exist. However, that exists at your studio, pass this message along. The link is in our comments now. People are wanting to support great things. They want to support your dancer. They want to support your studio. They get lots of requests for lots of things, to sell chocolates and to buy your whatever you're selling this season. But this is something that I think people will really connect with, because it has a bigger meaning, and they're getting involved with something that goes beyond, just, buying some chocolate. This is next level, helping another community of people better their lives. And I know that people, as you've seen, probably many people are getting behind this in remarkable ways. You've seen some great success stories coming out of studios.
Yeah, I have to share. As we were testing this, a fellow board member on National Dance Foundation, Gio Yavella, has a studio in New Jersey, and he's smart. I really want to try this. I think it's amazing, and he invited his families onto a call, and in less than 10 days, they had raised over $42,000. And so half of that went back to the studio, which is really amazing. Those kids got, their travel paid for, their costumes. He was doing like some new warm-ups for the team. And it was, I think the thing that was mind blowing to me was like over 80% of the kids who signed up did it. They actually did it, which is incredibly high. A lot of times in fundraising, you're like, I don't want to do that. Well, it's not fundraising. And it's not selling anything. It's truly a service. It's truly saying, hey, I've now been educated, and I'm going to share this message with folks who are close to me. And then, a week or so later, this little package, and I'll show it again, because I think when you see the handwritten card, and you kind of see that, and somebody was paid for that work. Everyone at Luv Michael makes at least $15 an hour and up. So it's a real job. And to know that you were the catalyst to that, and we come back to the studio and say, hey, by the way, you raised this much in funds, but you've created this many hours of work, and you reached, 450 people in, 90 cities in 25 states. It's like, it feels really great for the studio as well, to say, hey, this is what maybe sets us apart, is we don't fundraise, we serve, and we use service, the service model. And my hope is that once you do that, if folks with, families with children with special needs who are looking to join a studio, they might just feel a little more at home knowing that the studio has been just educated, and it really does make a difference. It's something small that's very, very big.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was going to say too, giving our young people a lot of credit. We do have a very compassionate, I believe, young group of people growing up in our communities, and that it's also, the kids are getting involved, right? Like it's
Mhm.
sometimes when we're doing fundraising, it's the parents that are taking it to work, and they can do that with this too. This active service is not just, I'm just saying, I think it gets the kids involved, our young people involved in a very unique way, knowing that this is helping their very expensive endeavor in dance, as we know, but they're also paying forward that active service to another community of people who may have been marginalized or misunderstood, and gives them an opportunity to grow, and just as they are, and learn, and have a future that's bright and not profitable, but I'm losing my words. Mark, help me out here. Having
But yeah, I think, Carolyn, it comes down to,
win-win. Yeah.
you hear a lot about autism awareness and special needs awareness, and really any marginalized community awareness. This is beyond awareness; it's about acceptance. And once you start to see the struggle in another human being's life, you can't help but become a little bit more understanding and take that moment. And if you take that moment, they may take a step closer to this community. For a lot of folks on the spectrum, like we encourage the kids to, we say 30 conversations can change the world. We say, try to send this message to 30 people, because when you love someone on the spectrum, you're always concerned with what the world's going to be like for them. Will it be kind or cruel? And often it's not the kindest place. And it's because people don't understand it. So if you can just start the conversation, you may make the world a little bit more open and understanding to this community, and they may take a step closer to it. And that would make all the difference in these families' lives, because they don't always feel very at home in the world. And so this little simple act, I think, can make a huge difference. And it's widely successful as a fundraiser for your studio.
I love it. Thank you so much for articulating that so well. And there's so much in here for people. So we have put the link, as I mentioned, that Mark mentioned in the chat. If you have a question, now is a great opportunity to ask. While we're doing that, I'll let you know. Jamie Moore says she loves this. She has a neurodivergent teenager, and this program is so amazing for kids and young adults in this community. Our CEO and founder, Mandy Yip, says 42K in 10 days. Amazing. It is amazing. And truly, it is a win-win-win for all. So
Yeah.
absolutely incredible. Is there anything else that you'd like to touch on, Mark, that we haven't today?
I think, thank you for this platform. I want to thank you all, Mandy and the whole Acrobatic Arts family, for giving me the opportunity and a platform to talk about some really important work. And for the studios out that are listening, it's a great opportunity for your dancers to learn about a community that is impacting 1 in 44 families today. Those are the new numbers, 1 in 44. So I think it's a great opportunity to sort of stand up and educate ourselves and others about families in need, and to do it in a way that actually helps your studio sustain and grow. And it's good for any team. And it's enabled us to give some very, very deserving folks an absolutely amazing experience, and to continue to grow and expand it. So that's what I'd like to add. Please click that link. We'll send out some information as well. But if you'd like to learn more, we would love to work with you. And the more studios, the better.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Mark, and teachers for joining us for this weekly mini. Join us again next week when we're back in the studio with Leah Holiday with a tutorial on donkey kicks. We'll see you then. Thank you so much. Bye.